Why did Cain kill his own brother? Was it simply jealousy? Or does this ancient story reveal something deeper about anger, pride, and the human heart? The story of Cain and Abel is one of the most tragic moments in the Bible. It is the first recorded murder in human history. But beneath the tragedy lies a powerful lesson that remains just as relevant today as it was thousands of years ago. To understand why Cain killed Abel, we must go back to the world that existed just outside the Garden of Eden. After Adam and Eve were sent out of Eden, life changed dramatically. The world was no longer the peaceful paradise they once knew. Pain, hardship, and struggle had entered human experience. Eventually, Adam and Eve had children. Their first son was Cain. Later came his younger brother, Abel. As the brothers grew older, they chose different paths in life. Cain became a farmer, working the soil. Abel became a shepherd, caring for flocks of sheep. At first, everything seemed ordinary. But a moment was approaching that would change history forever. One day, both brothers brought offerings to God. Cain brought some of the fruits of the ground. Abel brought the firstborn of his flock and the best portions from them. Genesis tells us that God looked favorably upon Abel and his offering. But he did not look favorably upon Cain's offering. The Bible does not provide every detail about why. Throughout history, many have suggested that the difference was not simply the gift itself, but the attitude behind it. Abel appears to bring his very best. His offering reflects faith, gratitude, and devotion. Cain, on the other hand, seems to approach God differently. Whatever the reason, Cain immediately becomes angry. Very angry. And instead of examining his own heart, he begins looking at his brother. At this point, something remarkable happens. Before any crime is committed, God speaks to Cain. He asks, "Why are you angry? Why is your face downcast?" Then God gives Cain a warning that has echoed through the centuries. God tells him, "Sin is crouching at your door. It desires to have you, but you must rule over it." The image is powerful. Sin is described almost like a wild animal waiting to strike. At this moment, Cain still has a choice. He can master his anger. He can change course. He can listen to God. But instead of dealing with the jealousy growing inside him, he allows it to take root. And when anger is left unchecked, it rarely remains anger for long. It often becomes something far more destructive. Genesis tells us that Cain invited Abel into the field. And there, away from others, he attacked his brother. Abel became the first victim of murder in human history. The Bible describes the event with striking simplicity. There are no long details. Just a heartbreaking reality. One brother killed another. The violence that began in the human heart had now become action. The consequences of sin that entered through Eden were spreading. The story reminds us that great tragedies often begin with small unchecked emotions. Resentment, jealousy, bitterness, and pride. Left alone, these things can grow into something much larger. Afterward, God comes to Cain, and he asks a question. "Where is your brother Abel?" The question is similar to the one asked in Eden. When Adam and Eve hid, God asked, "Where are you?" Now another question echoes through history. But Cain responds with one of the most famous lines in the Bible. "Am I my brother's keeper?" It is a question many people still ask in different ways today. Am I responsible for others? Do I have any obligation beyond myself? The Bible's answer is clear. Human beings are not meant to live only for themselves. We are called to care for one another, to love one another, to protect one another. Cain rejected that responsibility, and the result was devastating. Because of what he had done, Cain faced consequences. The ground he once worked would no longer produce as before. He would become a wanderer, separated from the life he once knew. Yet even here, something unexpected happens. Cain fears that others will kill him, and God places a mark upon him. The exact nature of this mark remains unknown, but its purpose is clear. It was protection. Even after Cain's terrible sin, God shows mercy. This does not remove the consequences, but it reveals something important about God's character. Justice and mercy appear together. Throughout the Bible, we see this pattern again and again. God takes sin seriously, yet he continually offers grace. So why did Cain kill Abel? The answer goes deeper than simple jealousy. The story reveals what can happen when anger is allowed to grow unchecked. It shows the danger of comparison, the danger of pride, and the danger of refusing God's warning. But it also reminds us of something else. Before Cain fell, God spoke to him. He gave him an opportunity to choose differently. And perhaps that is one of the story's most important lessons. Every human heart faces choices. Choices between bitterness and forgiveness, pride and humility, resentment and love. The story of Cain and Abel is ancient, yet its message remains surprisingly relevant today. Thanks for joining me today. Until next time, keep exploring God's Word.